My name is Wing, I play on the Kodash server EU, and my main class is Mesmer. In the following clips I'm gonna show you some of my outnumbered fights. I hope you enjoy watching. In this clip I get attacked from a guardian and 2 more enemies approaching from behind, so I quickly put my game face on and prepare for the incoming fight. I use my sword 3 to sword 2 to burst the one guardian down, I use my distortion to prevent the interrupt, and I get a successful stomp. Now I use my sword 2 to avoid the damage from the guardian's leap. I choose the engineer as my target because he would be the squishiest of them to focus for me at this point. I try to kite them a little bit around, then I use my torch invis to confuse them about my positioning. I open again with my sword combo to give him a hard time. His lower health elixir triggers, he stays invulnerable until it drops, then I go for the stomp and I get the successful stomp. I dodge out, but he manages to pull me. I heal a little bit up, use my sword 3 to sword 2 to pin him down. I open again with a scepter 3, blink to confuse him about my positioning. Then I scepter block to prevent his guardian's leap. I dodge out to avoid his pull. Then I open with my sword 3 to sword 2 to apply heavy damage. I keep following him until it drops. While stomping I see other enemies approaching, so I pull a little bit out. At this point I have to find out who I'm dealing with. I'm fighting a ranger, an elementalist and a mesmer. I choose the ranger as my target because he would be the squishiest and can put a lot of damage out if he is ignored. Because of my torch duelist sword combo he gets down. I use my decoy to go for the stomp. After the stomp I blink out and heal up. I choose the mesmer as my next target because it is most likely that he has a lot of damage. I dodge his berserker. Then I use my torch invis into summoning clone, weapon swap duelist, sword 3 to sword 2 to go for him, but he uses his distortion and prevent any of my damage. At this point I switch my focus to the elementalist because the mesmer would just kite me around. I scepter block to apply torment stacks on the elementalist. He uses his tornado form and kites me around, but in the end he gets down from my conditions, so I go for the stomp. After the successful stomp I start pressuring the mesmer again, but he just runs away and I didn't feel like chasing. In the next clip I'm attacking the back of a big group. I open with my mirror blade into berserker, then I weapon swap into sword 3 to sword 2 into diversion to apply 20 vulnerability stacks, then use my mirror images into mind rack to burst him down. I use my torch invis to go for the stomp. After the successful stomp I pull out and retreat from this fight. In the next clip I'm attacking the tail of a Zerg. I scepter block to apply torment, then I dodge the gust from one of the staff elementalists. I use my torch invis into summoning clone sword 3 to sword 2 to burst the one elementalist down. He uses his mist form, the static field stuns me, and I use my blink to go for the stomp again. While stomping I see a lot of enemies approaching from behind, so I use my distortion and dodge to prevent most of the damage, then I heal up, use my mass invisibility and hope for the best. Now I use my weapon swap into torch to give me another invis and try to retreat from this fight. In the next clip I am attacking an enemy guardian. While doing so I'm always checking the background for approaching enemies, like this elementalist for example. In this case I switch my target to the elementalist because I don't want to chase the guardian blindly into a camp not knowing what may be there. Moreover, they want to fight you, so they will come back and engage on you again, like the guardian did. Now back to the fight. I just used my sword 3 to sword 2 into mind rack to get the elementalist real low. Now I use my torch invis and stay close to trigger the flames. Then I weapon swap and apply the last damage that is needed to get the elementalist down. I want to go for the stomp, but he uses his mist form, so I try again, but the good knockback from the guardian shield forces me to blink in to get the successful stomp. At this point I want to pull out, kite them and keep my distance. I use my mirror blade, mind stab and summoning of my berserker to apply heavy damage and pressure onto the guardian. He manages to pull me in. I use my decoy as a stun break. While fighting I see an enemy thief approaching from behind. In this situation I have to be constantly checking if he uses his elite venom. Now that he is about to jump me I weapon swap and use my sword 2 to prevent any damage from him. I dodge out, I use my torch invis, then I open again with my sword 3 on the guardian to immobilize him. The thief uses his dagger storm, so I avoid most of it by blinking away. Then I use my mind step to remove the stability from him. Now I use my greatsword 5 to knock him back and give me room to breathe. At this point I feel a lot of pressure from them, so I use my veil to give me a little break. The thief stares, so I have to target the guardian again. I open with my sword 3 to sword 2, dodge away, use my torch invis, weapon swap into berserker mind step mirror blade to burst the guardian down. I use my decoy into blink to go for a fast stomp. I notice I have Aegis up that blocks the interrupt of the guardian. The thief uses his refuge a little bit too late. If I hadn't used my decoy into blink, he could have used the refuge earlier and would have saved the guardian. Thief stares, and again I predict and prevent the backstab of him by using my sword 2. Now I use my sword 3 to immobilize him. He shadow steps away, I weapon swap, mind step into mirror blade. I wait for the mirror blade to hit and then I use my mind rag to apply heavy damage and burst onto him. This is a great method you should never hesitate to use. Let me show you again. I summon my berserker, now I throw my mirror blade, and in the moment it hits I use my mind rag and the thief gets down. I want to stomp the thief, but he ports away, so I follow him to get the successful stomp, and then I run off to find my next fight. In the next clip I find myself 2 enemies. I open with my berserker into mirror blade to get the up leveled elementalist down. Now I follow up with my sword 3 to sword 2 and wait for the ranger to be in range for my mind rag to burst her down. Sorry, but I just had to put this clip in here. Now I finish them and run off to find my next fight. In the next clip I'm attacking 2 elementalists. I open with my mirror blade, use my decoy to gain stealth and follow that up with my sword 3 to sword 2 into mind rag to burst the one elementalist really low. I'm looking for a new opening, so I weapon swap and throw my mirror blade, and in the moment it hits, I mind rag to burst the one elementalist down. I use my veil to go for the finish, he uses mist form, I follow him to get the successful stomp. I dodge out, the elementalist manages to knock me down, I open again with my berserker into weapon swap sword 3 to sword 2 into mind rag to burst the elementalist down. I use my torch invis to get the successful stomp and run off to find my next fight. In the next clip I am attacking 2 enemies, a ranger and a thief. I choose the ranger as my target because at this point he would be easier for me to focus than a thief who can permanently stealth. He got really low and at this point he decides to retreat. I blink up to follow him. While chasing, I keep an eye at the thief so he won't surprise me. The ranger keeps running and dies to falling damage. An enemy elementalist appears and attacks me. So I use my veil to reset a little bit and start the fight against him. I use my greatsword 5 to knock him back, but he does a really good job in avoiding most of my damage and kiting me around. At this point I open again with my berserker mind step mirror blade into mind rag to burst him really low. Now I just keep auto hitting him until he drops, I get the successful stomp and retreat from this fight. In this clip I'm fighting a good prismatic understanding Mesmer. I try to pressure him right from the start. At this point I know that he is a good player because we both avoid each other's damage by using our sword 2 at the same time. Now he wants to go for his sword combo. I use my greatsword 5 to interrupt his action. I want to stay as long as possible in stealth to gain the upper hand of the fight again. In this moment I thought that he would retreat, but I look backwards and see that he is engaging again. I use my torch invis to move behind him, sword 3 to sword 2 and smash all my shatter buttons to burst him down and get the successful stomp. The next clip starts with me stomping an enemy Mesmer. Afterwards I engage in camp with 3 enemies in it. I choose the Mesmer as my target because he would be the squishiest. I use my torch invis into weapon swap duelist sword 3 to sword 2 to pin him down. I dodge out. The death of the NPC allows me to level up and I use the mega knockback against all of them because that was the plan all along. Then I use my veil into blink to get the successful stomp. In this clip I want to show you a nice move I use against the most dangerous part of a condition Mesmer, the Scepter 2 block that applies torment stacks, which is really important to avoid. She starts her Scepter block. I open with my Scepter 3 and in the moment I see the block message, I block a sphere to apply torment stacks onto her. She wasn't prepared for that and I get the successful finish. In the next clip I'm fighting a thief and a guardian. I felt a lot of pressure from them, so I used my distortion into mass invisibility. I tried to re-engage onto the thief again, but he manages to get away for now. The guardian's damage shows me that he's probably full glass and I have to be very careful while fighting him. I keep my distance by blinking away. I wait for the enemy thief appearing again, dodge his opening, use my sword 3 to sword 2 into mind whack to get him really low. I follow up with some auto hits and get a successful finish. Afterwards I'm looking for the guardian again. I open with my mirror blade into berserker, dodge out, get a lot of burst, so heal up. I blink a little bit out. At this point I wait for him to come to me, then I weapon swap sword 3 to sword 2 into mind whack to blow him up. Now I use my distortion to prevent his interrupt and get a successful stomp. The next clip is about me fighting a ranger, a guardian and a mesmer and more enemies adding in. I choose the ranger as my target because at this point he would be the easiest one to focus for me. I get the guardians immobilized from his hammer, so I blink out. I reopen with my torch invis into sword 3, but the ranger manages to avoid it by dodging. Nevertheless, he gets down, so I use my distortion to prevent this interrupt. Now I have to escape from this. I use my veil into mass invisibility, my blink, my decoy to get out of there and retreat. In the last clip I want to show you that you can't win every outnumbered fight. I want to thank you for watching. I hope you had a good time. My builds are in the description down below. I would really appreciate it if you subscribe, like or leave a comment. Moreover, I'm gonna try to make a video every 2 weeks, so stay tuned.